And welcome everyone to our top 25 men's basketball reveal chat as we look at the latest AP top 25 men's basketball poll. I'm Andy Katz. Let's look at the top here. North Carolina retains its #1 spot. They had it in the preseason, off to a 2-0 start. You see the big win over the College of Charleston, 102-86. I have no problem with that. I kept North Carolina in my Power 36 on NCAA.com and March Madness men's basketball. But here's where we differ. I was there on the ship in San Diego on Friday night for Gonzaga, Michigan State. Gonzaga came back from 12 down against the Spartans and defended well against Jaden Aiken's game-winning shot that did not go down for Michigan State. And they ended up winning by 1. Drew Timme at 22. So Gonzaga holds the 2 spot. I kind of penalized them a little bit, and I flipped it. I put Houston at 2, Gonzaga at 3 in my poll. Houston off to a great start, especially defensively, as you see there. 81-55 win over St. Joe's. Jarris Walker, a freshman forward for the Cougars, he's off to a fantastic start for Houston. If there was ever a question about scoring, that is not the issue. As you see there, they've got 81 points in that game over St. Joe's, off to a 2-0 start. And then as you look at the rest of the top grouping here, as we scroll down, we've got Kentucky at 4, Baylor at 5, Kansas at 6, Duke at 7. For me, I had UCLA 4, Kansas 5. I still have Indiana in the top 10. I got Indiana 6, Duke 7, Baylor 8, and then I went Creighton 9, Kentucky 10. I'm off to Indianapolis on Tuesday, where I will see Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State, and Kansas again. And as we scroll up, if we can a little bit here, you see Arkansas at 9, still playing without Nick Smith Jr., one of the best freshmen in the country, if not the best freshman in the country. So that's why I wasn't as high on them yet, because I want to see the full body of work. I like the Texas at 11. I have Indiana higher. Auburn, still work in progress. It's fine at 13. Arizona, great win for them over Southern. Why? Because Kerr Kriisa, had a triple-double. Saw him at Pac-12 Media Day, gave me some flack because I did not have them in the top 25 initially. So for Arizona fans, I will tell you, after their performance, you see Arizona in the AP poll at 14, and I put Arizona at 18. So there you go. I have moved them much higher. TCU, interesting, they had to come back to beat Pine Bluff. So they're at 15, a little shaky there. You see Virginia at 16. Definitely want to, by the way, sidebar here, obviously send all our thoughts and prayers and condolences to the University of Virginia community after dealing with an unbelievable tragedy that they're dealing with on their campus in their athletic department. So very serious, obviously tragic situation unfolding in Virginia. But there we are. Their game, by the way, on Monday night was postponed / maybe canceled. We'll see. But they're not going to play on Monday night because of that. So then just picking this up, hard turn. But San Diego State at 17. I saw them in person later that night on Friday night against BYU. 82-75 comeback win against the Cougars. Jaden Ledee, phenomenal pickup from Ohio State and TCU. Darian Trammell, pickup from Seattle. They got scores now with Matt Bradley and Nathan Mensah. I love that for San Diego State. Get them at 17 in the poll. Just so you know, I had San Diego State at 14. That's how high I was on seeing the Aztecs. And then to round it up, you got Alabama, Illinois, Michigan, Dayton, Tennessee, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, and UConn. Let me address the back part, and then we're going to get to your questions here. First of all, I don't see Florida. I got Florida at 17 in my. I don't see Purdue. I had Purdue at 16. I have Colorado at 20. Yes, they lost to Grambling in the Legacy Series in the Pac-12 SWAC Legacy Series on the road, but then Colorado turned around and won in Nashville against Tennessee. Clearly, maybe a neutral basketball court, but not a neutral site. And Tennessee lost the game, so I dropped Tennessee down to 28, and because of that. I have Wisconsin in there at 24 because of their win over Stanford, only holding Stanford to 50 points. I had UConn at 26 right there. A&M a little bit further back. I want to see some work still to be done. So not a ton of differences there. Oh, by the way, I still had Michigan State. I had them at 19 because they had that lead. They look like a top 25 team to me. So I am definitely high on the Spartans. No question about it. Let's take some questions here. KPat12 asks, how is Michigan State not up there? I agree with you. After watching the Spartans, they've got a top 25 team. So there's no question that I think this is a big week for Michigan State because they've got Kentucky Tuesday night in Indianapolis. I'll be there for that. And then they host Villanova in the Gavitt game. So we're going to know a lot about a Villanova team, by the way, that just lost to Temple. We're going to know a lot about Michigan State this week. Jordan Tran says North Carolina is the most overrated team I've ever seen. Well, let's wait and see, okay? They lost in the championship game. They returned their core guys, essentially only subbing out Brady Manick, out Pete Nance in. They have an interesting couple of weeks coming up where we'll learn much more about the Tar Heels as a national title contender here early. And I'll see them at the couple times at the end of the month in Portland in the PK 85 and then at Indiana. So that's going to be a big 4-game stretch for the Tar Heels. Matt Nitch says San Diego State should be top 15. I agree with you that they should be in the teens. I really like this Aztec team. I'm telling you right now, that after watching them in person, and I know they got down early to BYU, and the crowd is so great at Viejas and really fed their energy up, but they defend, and now they can score. Circle San Diego State as a team that we may be talking about deep into March. We'll know a lot more about them through the Maui Invitational. They open up with Ohio State University. So interesting on the Aztecs. HB says, don't sleep on A&M. I won't. I have them in my 36. Let's see how they plays out over the next couple of weeks. Kobe USA says, will Gonzaga finally overcome their hump and make the title game and win it? Well, let me tell you something, Kobe. This narrative is incredible. 21. They had a chance probably in 20, had there been a tournament. Not a lot of schools have played in one title game. So I just don't buy they got to get over the hump and win one. You know how many programs haven't won a national championship, let alone been in a Final Four, even been to a championship game? So I just don't think this is their best team. But they don't have to compete against previous teams in college basketball. Kylie Davila says, what do you think about Texas Tech? Let me tell you what I think about the Red Raiders. I think they're a work in progress. They're going to defend as always under Mark Adams. But without Fardaws Aimaq, who has a foot injury, Mark Adams told me they hope he's going to be back, certainly by the Big 12. I just can't judge them yet. And then we got to wait and see. Seawalt, thoughts on the Oscar-Timmy matchup? And that's Sunday, November 20th in Spokane Arena between Kentucky and Gonzaga. What we don't know is if Oscar Tshiebwe is going to play. Kentucky has a couple games before that. They've got Tuesday night against Michigan State, and then they host South Carolina State before they go out to Spokane. Tshiebwe did not play in the first couple games as he's rehabbing from his offseason minor surgery. So I hope we get the matchup. Let's hope. And if we do, then I think, we get the Player of the Year type matchup. Brian Dabby, why is NC State in there? Well, you got to win some games that are notable yet. Jared says, where's Rutgers? Let me say something about Rutgers. I have them in my Power 36. They're 3-0. And the big difference last year to this year is Rutgers winning games that, convincingly against lesser opponents. Last year, we talked about Lafayette all year because they lost it. Also, they're playing without Caleb McConnell, who was hurt. Once he gets back reigning defensive Big Ten Player of the Year, that's a big difference to them. Cam Spencer, their transfer from Loyola, Maryland, off to a great start for them. Jay Belnick says, what do I think of Penn State? I really like the Nittany Lions. I think they're going to be in contention for a bid. They're going to be obviously a team to watch as they play better competition in the non-conference. Realistic Bullist fan says, what about Dayton? We're going to learn a lot more about Dayton in the battle for Atlantis. They open up with Wisconsin over Thanksgiving. So I think that's going to be a huge test for the Flyers. It flipped by on me, but the Indiana-Xavier matchup later this week, monster matchup that is not getting a lot of pubs. I'm going to give it here. Games in Cintas Center. That'll test my theory of Indiana being a top 10 team. If Indiana goes into Xavier and wins that game, I think that is a strong indication that they are worthy of top 10 potential. No question about it. If they are able to win that basketball game. If Xavier wins, then Xavier picks second, should be looked at as a Big East title contender, and I think Xavier will be in this top 25 next week. Thoughts on Texas and the Illini? Let me just say this about Texas. I think they're better than last year with Hunter and Carr and Dylan Mitchell. And so Gonzaga is going to have their hands full this week. That's going to be a great test for both schools. As for the Illini, Dane Danger, pickup from Baylor. It's off to a great start. Basically a double-double machine. He's not a player we talked about in the Big Ten in the preseason, and suddenly he's been a great transfer pickup. Much more so than another Baylor transfer, Matthew Meyer. So Brad Underwood, a little sneaky there. As you see on your right hand of your screen, we've got upcoming schedule. Champions Classic, I'll be there on Tuesday night in Indianapolis. Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke, Kansas. Dick Vitale back on the mic. Looking forward to seeing Dick. He's got the first game, if I'm not mistaken. And then we've got Gonzaga at Texas. And then Virginia, Baylor, Illinois, UCLA. Those games are in Las Vegas. And then on Sunday, you've got Kentucky, Gonzaga, Houston, Oregon. Now, Oregon lost to UC Irvine, my national team of the week. Great win for the Anteaters, who I think in the Big West will challenge Hawaii and Santa Barbara. Oregon was ranked number 21. They're obviously out of the poll now. By the way, my national player of the week was Keontae Johnson. If everyone remembers him, he's now playing at Kansas State. Fell, collapsed, was unresponsive. December 12th, 2020, while playing for Florida against Florida State, was literally brought back to life. And the thought of him playing basketball again was not even in anyone's head but his own. Unbelievable comeback 2 years later, 13 in the opener, 16 in a K-State win over Cal for Jerome Tang, the new head coach, former Baylor assistant. So how could I go with anyone else? What a week for Keontae Johnson. Bravo. Contreras says, how do I think Arizona's going to do this season? Well, look, if Kirk Risa can play like he's playing now, they're going to be a top 20 team throughout the course of the season. Who do we got here? Let me just check more questions here. Does Illinois have a chance to win the Big Ten? So they were picked second, and I think yes, especially if Danger ends up being this X factor, because we were wondering who was going to play next to Coleman Hawkins, who was going to replace Kofi Coburn. He suddenly is the answers. That's a huge pickup for them. And Terrence Shannon Jr., the Texas Tech transfer. So it's funny. The Big 12 transfers are really helping a Big 10 title contender in Illinois. How good will Arkansas be with Nick Smith joining them, Porkside said. Interesting, Porkside. Look, if he's back from Maui, I think they end up being the favorite with San Diego State. But Arizona's there too. I mean, this is going to be a really, really good Maui Invitational. Still low love for the champs, JR70 says. Well, the champs meaning Kansas, they're the reigning champs. No love, as I said to you. I had Kansas in my top 10, so I don't see why there's no love for them. I will see them in person tomorrow. No Bill Self. Norm Roberts will be coaching. Bill Self, the self-imposed game penalty. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. Jalen Wilson's off to a good start. Grady Dick's a good shooter, so they needed that. So, well, full assessment when we see them tomorrow. Thoughts on Bill getting suspended? Zach Rosen says, well, that's the trend, self-imposed penalties. And so I'm not surprised. And as we've seen with the independent reviews, the postseason ban, which I'm in favor of getting rid of, seems to be happening, where going forward now, we're not seeing postseason bans, which I agree with, because the actors involved, for the most part, have been gone. And to me, if you're going to ban anyone in a postseason ban, it should be the head coach, if that head coach or assistant coaches were there when the violations occurred. The players, 99.9% of the time, if not 100, were never there. They should not be penalized for a postseason ban. I've said that. I've been consistent throughout the course of my career on the postseason bans. A lot of, first, the thoughts on UCLA. Really like this team, picked them to win it. So I'll be really interested to see how they end up playing here in some of these big games coming up. But I love the mix of Jaime Hawkins, Tiger Campbell playing well early. They got to stay healthy, obviously, and they're newcomers. So I'm really intrigued to see the Bruins going forward. Alabama, Brandon Miller, freshman, good start this weekend. So that's huge for them. Someone asked about, Jordan Hawkins, Andre Jackson, about UConn with them being hurt. Look, Adama Sanogo was dominant for the Huskies in their win over BU, and that was worthy. I had him, I think, 26. They're 25. So that is certainly a worthy designation for the Huskies. Yuri Collins, I see that question fly by. One of the best playmakers in the country, dishing assists out constantly. That's why St. Louis is a contender in the A-10 because of him. What do we got here? Clayton Schwartz, who will win the Big Ten. I'm still picking Indiana until they get knocked off. Dracos, I just mentioned Alabama. Duke, Kansas, Danny Lehan. Look, if Duke is healthy, and I am assuming they will be, but, they've had their bumps and bruises here with Lively and Whitehead, but let's assume they're full. And Filipowski, by the way, played well. I like Kansas's experience in this matchup, but Duke will have more talent on the floor. So you could argue that potentially Duke has a higher ceiling this season if the freshmen end up reaching their potential. But I really like the transfers that Duke picked up. I want to see how they perform. Ryan Young, Jacob Grandison, the transfer from Illinois, sharpshooter. So let's see how that goes. Parlay come over. Why is in Colorado ranked? I ranked them in my Power 36. I do not have a vote in the AP Top 25. So I agree with you because they not only canceled out the Grambling loss, road loss, by the way, I think they one-upped it with the win over Tennessee in Nashville. So I think they should be ranked. Certainly should be ranked ahead of Tennessee with the AP voters not watching, paying attention on Sunday afternoon. College basketball happens on Sunday up against the NFL sometimes, and this was a great example of when they should have been paying much more attention. All right, let's take a couple quick more. What do I think about Butler? Manny Bates pickup, love that. Thad Matta is going to get this program in, upper half of the Big East. How good can UConn be when they're fully healthy? Follow up on that. It's a question from Tony. Look, they can win the Big East, flat out. Can IU take down Carolina and Kansas? They can beat Carolina at home. It's going to be really hard to win in Fog Allen, but they could. I think the harder question is, can they win at Xavier this week? Seriously, students are there, crazy atmosphere in Cintas. If Indiana wins that game, I am convinced Indiana will be undefeated, hosting Carolina on November 30th, and that will be crazy. Like, that could put Indiana with a win, number one, heading to Jersey Mike's / Rack at Rutgers on the weekend. I'm going to see both those Indiana games, so can't wait. Won't be there for the Xavier game, but if they win that game, that's going to change everything for Indiana because I think it sets up nicely for quite a run for the Hoosiers in the month of November and into early December. So love that setup for them. All right, so let's do this. Let's wrap it up. I love the fact that we're doing these chats to discuss the top 25, compare it with my Power 36. We see the upcoming schedule, and we give you a little bit of news of what's happening in college basketball. As always, I want you to go to our social media channels, whether it's the BR app or NCAA.com or everything on the March Madness men's basketball account. You can see all our coverage kind of all over the place in the next couple of weeks. Friday, we were at our great team at the game on the ship of the USS Abraham Lincoln. What an experience. We had great coverage with our team there. And then we went over to San Diego State BYU. We are at the Champions Classic on Tuesday. And then the following week, PK 85 in Portland. Then after that, we've got Syracuse, Illinois, Carolina, Indiana, Jimmy V the week after that with Texas, Illinois, Iowa, and Duke. So what a great, just great couple of matchups that we're going to see, at the Jimmy V in New York City. So much great college basketball coming at you in the next couple of weeks. And, keep it right here. This is where you're going to get all of your coverage in men's college basketball. Thanks for watching, digesting all this information, and we'll see you soon.